Hi everyone. Today I'll be interviewing Jenny Field. And Jenny and I, we met at a networking group a couple of weeks ago. So, Jenny, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Thanks, Lorraine. Yeah, I'm Jenny Field, and my business is called Just Being Me. It's called that because for most of my life, I just wanted to be me, and I was being forced to be something else because that's not how our society functioned. I'm a self-belief expert, and I work with people predominantly who've been within some sort of trauma, but that trauma could be falling over. So, for example, I had a traumatic event when I fell over and broke my elbow. So, and I needed to work out what was going on in my head around that traumatic event.
Okay, so to begin with, would you like to share a moment in your journey where self belief really helped you to overcome challenges?
So, for me, self belief is an internal thing. So I can be confident about something, but not believe in myself. So confidence is a doing thing, and self belief is an internal being thing. And for me, my self belief really started to grow when my mother in law died, and I was in a very dark place.
Mm.
And all the systems that were supposed to help didn't help. And actually, I sat myself down and gave myself a long talking to and explained to myself that I was the one that throughout the whole of my life, every time something went wrong, and there's been quite a few big things gone wrong in my world, it was me. It was me that was the strong one. It was me that got me through that. It was me that got my children through those things. And I decided that actually I was just going to find a way to bring myself through this, but a way that grew me. I didn't want to repeat the old patterns that have been repeating.
Exactly. There's a big shift from being a victim to being a strong survivor.
Absolutely. And what I wanted to become was when you sit in victim mode, you also often sit in rescue mode. And I've worked in domestic abuse for 30 odd years. And that fitted very nicely and fed me very nicely in my dopamine brain. But actually, what it didn't allow me to do was heal and grow. So by saying to myself, actually, you want to create how your life is going to be. You don't want to live from being a victim. You don't want to live from being a rescuer. And I don't even really want to be a survivor anymore. Yes, I am a survivor, but I'm a creator now because I decide how my life goes. I decide how I feel, and I've got the tools to manage that.
Excellent. It's good to see that you've decided to level up.
Absolutely.
And everybody can. It's
Oh,
within them. It's yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So, moving on from that, how did your experiences with this, different types of adversity shape your approach to really building more resilience?
So the adversity, I guess, I mean, it was there from the word go. I just didn't know that because, when we're born into a family, we just know what we know from that family. We don't know any different, do we?
Yeah.
And it was only as those things, sort of things, began to untangle, where I was repeating the patterns of where I'd been, how I'd been treated in my childhood. Um, it took a lot of those pattern repeatings to get me to a place of going, well, hang on a minute, let's just stop. Let's just stop and see what these patterns are about, because it's happened in this scenario, it's happened in this scenario, it's happened in this scenario, all different scenarios. And I don't want it to happen anymore. I don't want that to happen anymore. And what that did was led me to understanding the old adage of put your own oxygen mask on first. Which, in my head, I have three children, and the thought of not putting their oxygen masks on first freaked me out. But when I understood that if I put myself first, I was a much better person for them. I was a much better person for all of the people that I cared about.
Yeah.
And I could sit with myself and go, yeah, I'm okay. Yes, I've made that decision because I understand why, rather than knee jerking it and doing what I'm being told to do, rather than going out and saying to somebody, what do you think? Because what I recognized was, what do you think is then giving all of your power to that person to make the decisions for you for the way that they live in their head, the way that makes them feel okay, and also from what society says we need to do. And actually, when I recognize that bringing the power back to me means that I make the decisions from what works for me, life works a lot better because it's working for me. So it doesn't mean that life is always joyous and wonderful and I never have any sadness, I never have any, negative emotions. I still, still there's still anger, there's still frustration, there's still sadness, there's still those things that go on. But they're nowhere near the amount they used to be. They used to be the dominant emotions in my life. So it's brought me to a place of sitting here and going, do I want to get involved in that? No, I don't really. Do I want to feel like this? No, I don't. So what am I going to do about that? Okay, let's change that. But it also means that sometimes there are just sad days. Sometimes there are just negative emotion days. And I ride with that. That's telling me what I need to give myself. So I'm so aware of me, how I feel internally, and how I feel about things, rather than knee jerking a reaction.
Exactly. Self-awareness is so important. Whether you're a coach or therapist, it's really about going within. So how do you encourage your clients to really go within and find their true answers for them?
So you're so right, because of the fact that there'll be often people will reach out to me and they're expecting me to wave a magic wand, and that's not going to happen, because my job is to ask another person questions that gets them to question stuff in their own heads so that they find their solutions. And then what we do is once you get used to me asking you all those sorts of questions, we look up the sorts of questions you need to ask yourself on repeat. And one of my staple sayings is the power is in the pause. Because if you react immediately, that you're just doing what because your brain likes automation. Your brain's there to keep you safe, yes. And it likes automation. So once it knows how to do something, it knows how to pick this cup up. Yeah, it knows I can do this. So I don't have to think about that anymore. So if you've got negative patterns from your past that have created limiting beliefs, that's what your brain wants to do, rather than the things that that now you need to change that. And it is if you've learned to do it, you can unlearn it. It's and that's a very simple thing to do, and it is a simple thing to do, but you are having to be very, very aware of yourself to do that. So it is about, each week I'm talking with my client to which stage are you at? Okay, right, we're here. Right, this week, concentrate on being aware of this. Concentrate on feeling your feelings. Concentrate on how you react in given situations. If you have a negative thing happen for you, check back on what the triggers were. See how you are functioning in this world. Not how everybody else is functioning, but how you are functioning.
Yeah, because everybody's unique.
Absolutely. My
Yeah.
my solution for another person may well not work, because I don't sit in their life.
No.
One of the big things we do as human beings is we say all these words that are not necessarily what we do. So we're coming up to January. There's going to be a whole load of, New Year resolutions that will be made that cannot be carried out because you're not rewriting what's happening in your automations in your brain. So until you're aware of that, you can say you're going to lose weight as much as you like. And I have done for a lot of years. And I've now worked on myself on that. And my weight is very steadily going down. Thank you very much. Small, sustainable steps. They're the ones. Trying to run and not doing all the background work is not going to help. It's just not going to do it.
Exactly. It doesn't happen overnight. I mean, one of my mentors has said, 1% better every day. And that accumulation. Yeah.
And I liken it to, my clients who, turning up on session one, and how long is this going to take? And it's like, did you walk up to a piano and start playing like you were a concert pianist? No, that doesn't it. The mind is a muscle, the brain is a muscle. You've got to, learn it to do all of these things. And it's exactly the same as changing your thought processes. You have to relearn processes. So the more you work on it, the quicker it's going to happen. But that's my job, is to support you to do that. So
Exactly. Yeah.
it takes as long as you decide it's going to take, by the work that you do on yourself.
Exactly. And the more you put into it, the more you'll get out of it.
Absolutely. And I'm still very much on my journey, and I say that I'll always be on my journey, because as I go along, other things will come up now for me that I need to go, oh, hang on a minute. That's not something I want hanging around. What's this about? How is this done? But the difference for me now is that's not an emotional, oh, no, gosh, I feel like this. It's not an emotional thing now. It's actually quite an exciting thing for me. I've something like, oh, what's that about? How am I going to look at that? Oh, what am I going to do to support that? Do I need to talk to somebody else? So it's a curiosity for me now rather than, oh, no, you know? Because it is exciting. It is exciting. It takes me to the next step. Next step's coming.
Excellent. And you mentioned support from other people. How important is it, do you think, to have the right community around you?
It's massive. It's massive. And I do a lot of talking about other people's energies, because we all know that you can walk in a room and if there's an odd energy in there, we pick it up. We all know that, but we don't realize that's what we're doing every day. And if you're with a person and you come away from that person and you are exhausted, then that person is draining your energy. They're sucking your energy into them. But it's not doing them any good because it's your energy, but they're just sucking it into them. So for me, knowing who the right people are around me and knowing who I'm going to turn to. So I know uphill and down. If I need somebody at 4 o'clock in the morning, it's going to be my husband. He might not be very awake, but it's going to be him. I know if I need to do something that pushes me out of my comfort zone, that's going to be my good friend Nikki or my sister-in-law, who will just, my sister-in-law in particular has absolute faith that I can do anything that I want to do. And knowing that she's got that faith, I mean, I know I can do that, but there's always that little bit of wobble as well, isn't there? You know, she's the one that I will go and say, right, okay, I'm going to do this. Do you want to come? Because she'll just say yes. So it's knowing the people. I know that she's going to give me the right energy. She's going to be sitting in that same energy with me of like, let's go do this. And it's understanding that if you go to places and you come away exhausted, if you're in a job that you hate and it's exhausting you and you literally come home from work and you all you want to do is go to bed and then you get up and go to work again and then you spend the weekend dreading going back to work again, start making the plan to leave that job.
Yeah.
Because it's not for you. And
No,
that's how I know now. I have very different people in my world from a few years ago because I have the people that fill me up, not drain me.
exactly. And talking about people that drain you, how do you advise people that are struggling, with burnout?
So for me, if you think you're remotely getting close to burnout, stop. But that's not the nature of things, is it? People who go into burnout, and I mean true burnout, people who go there are heading there. It's like, it's watching. I'm sitting here looking at your background and I'm seeing spaceships that are just nose diving straight down. Because if you've got to that point, you somehow can't stop yourself. And you just keep going, doing the same things, and my advice is to just change one small thing, because if you just change one small thing, it changes I can never say this word, trajectory. Go
Yeah.
me. It changes it because you're not going on exactly the same course as you were. But most of my clients, the majority of them have hit a rock bottom and have gone, how on earth am I going to start going back up? But I'd really like to meet them before they get to the rock bottom. Because if we're meeting not at rock bottom, then we haven't got as far to come back up. But
Exactly.
often people need to get to that rock bottom to start coming back up.
Yeah. And if you can spot it before it happens, it can be small things. Instead of driving straight home after work, if you've had a boring day in the office, stopping at a park on the way home and going for a walk before going home, that can shift the energy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things that I used to do, as I say, I used to work in a domestic violence charity, and I used to drive home and I would stop en route home, didn't matter what time of day it was, and just give myself some time.
Mm.
Because it could often be at, 10 o'clock at night that I was driving home. But I was just giving myself some time because all day long I've done my job that I'm paid for, which is to give other people time and energy. And I'm going to go home to a family that needs me because children need my time and energy. but I needed just to give myself 20 minutes to swap from that energy to this energy and give me a little bit of time in between. And it's not selfish, it's vital, but we don't. We just keep pushing on through.
Exactly. I think self-care is really a priority because, you need to take care of yourself, otherwise you can't really help anyone else.
Absolutely not. We were talking before, weren't we, about the oxygen mask going on? And, it is something that throws me out. When as soon as I was thinking, I'll put my oxygen mask on before my children's, that's not happening. But actually, by doing that, by looking after me, I'm a much better person for my children, who are adults now, but they're still my children. For the people around me, for my clients, I'm a much better coach by giving myself some time. We've had weather warnings here. So from 12 o'clock, it was going to be heaving it down with rain and massive winds. So I took myself out for a walk at about 11 o'clock this morning, to give me, because I'm not going to be able to get it at the end of today
Mm.
because it's going to be too much. So I'll just work a little bit later. And, I'm very lucky because I love my job. So it doesn't feel like work for me. But, because that's the choice I made. That was the plan I made to do so I could feel like this. But it is taking the time, and self-care, consistent self-care is much more than a bubble bath. You've got to have a base level of consistent self-care.
Definitely.
Bubble bath is not going to cut it.
And I think as well, part of self-care is noticing any negative talk when it arises. How do you encourage your clients to spot that negative talk and turn it around?
It's one of the biggest things, and it's one of the first things that we look at, how they speak to themselves. And for me, it's very much about, if you don't say it to anybody else, why on earth are you saying it to you? Because you are the longest relationship you are ever going to have. And it isn't what, once you start working with me, and it sounds a lot like what you've been talking about, is the fact that you're starting to become aware of yourself. So you're building that relationship with yourself. And once you start building that relationship with yourself, you're starting to have a lot of conversations with yourself. And that's not, we've long gone from the days of, if I talk to myself, I'm going mad. Actually, it's really, really good to talk to yourself. And if stuff's going round in your head that you can't make sense of, the next best thing to do is to talk it out with somebody, because then your brain's had a chance to think it and hear it. If you can't talk to somebody, write it down, because then your brain's had a chance to think it and see yourself write it down. And then read it back to yourself, then it's hearing it as well. So it's had more chances to understand all of this stuff. So it's really about, it all stems from that awareness. It all stems from being aware of who you are, how you're functioning, and whether you like it. Do you like that bit of you? If you don't, how are you going to change it?
Yeah. It's your choice to change.
We all have choice, and we are all responsible for how we choose. Because bad things can happen. And if somebody else has done something to you, they're responsible for that. But you are responsible for how you're going to react to it. As I said
And
before, I've spent a lot of years in victim mode. That was my choice. That was absolutely my choice to spend those. There was no need to be in it. But recognizing that I was sitting in victim mode then made me go, hang on a minute here, because in victim mode, you're blaming other people for what's happened to you. Once you recognize that you're responsible for being who you are, then you have all the power and the choices again. And you can choose to be who you want to be. You can't change the past. You can learn from it. You can't change it. But you've got a choice over your future.
yeah, it's always a lesson, isn't it? In whatever happens, there's a lesson there.
Always, always. It's a constant from me. Okay, you did that. What did you learn from it? Well, I failed. No, you didn't fail. You didn't fail. It's the same thing. Piano player, you pressed a bum note. What did you learn from it? And when you're looking for what you learn from it, you're not sitting in that victim mode, because you're looking for what you can create.
Yeah, and there's more awareness. And in terms of focusing on self-awareness, which are the coaches and other maybe authors or people that have inspired you?
So it's interesting because you sent me some questions beforehand for me to have a look through, and I read that one and I thought to myself, do you know what? It isn't anybody famous. It isn't anybody well known. It isn't the people that have inspired me were my children,
Oh, beautiful.
because the way the things happened in our lives, I wanted to be a better person for them. I wanted to be a better person because when I'm a better person, that mirrors out on them and they have the opportunity to see also. So, I didn't know this stuff when I was bringing my kids up. And I'd had traumatic relationships going on. And I wanted the opportunity to be able to share that with them. And it's lovely. They don't necessarily recognize it because we don't always sit down and think, oh, I'm mirroring somebody else's behavior. But I see it and I look at it, and they are my inspiration every single day. Every single day. I want a better world for them.
And they will see it as they grow themselves as people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They'll see how you changed and you'll be their inspiration.
Yeah, and that's a conversation I've had with my daughter very recently, in the last couple of months of, you're so much happier these days. Oh. I made that
Yes.
choice. I made the choice.
And what other changes would you like to see in the world as we kind of shift to a higher vibration?
So obviously we've covered awareness. I want people to be aware. But also what's a rarity in this day and age is seeing and hearing, having somebody actually see you and hear you. Now, we all think we listen, but so often in a conversation, what we're doing is preparing the next sentence we are going to say. And having somebody see you for who you are and hear you for the person you are is somebody actually who's not thinking that in their head. They're just happy for you to say the things out loud and hear what's going on for you with no blame and no judgment. And it's something that we have lost in this world. It's something that is severely lacking. And it's something with my clients, that's what they will say after the first few sessions. They feel seen and heard, maybe not in those words because they're my words, but they feel that. And as we go along, what we're doing is we're then working with them so that they can ripple out their behavior, so that they start seeing and hearing the people around them, so that those people have the opportunity to mirror that back to them, so that they don't need me there to see and hear them. They're creating that within their community.
Yeah, and that ripple effect, it spreads when people start to change and other people around them notice those differences that, oh, you're different to the person you were last year.
And I've had people not be in my world because I'm different. And that's totally up to them. They can choose. But I don't want to behave like that anymore. So therefore, if you don't like that, then I'm sorry. But this is the way that I want to travel my life. My we've both got books coming out on the same day, haven't we? Which was just pure coincidence. And the front of my book is called Just Being You. And it is a journey of how I've gone through my changing all the things that I've looked at to change my I could say that word, trajectory. It's looking at all of those. And the front of my book is a drop of water dropping in and the ripple effect coming out, because that's what I want from the book. I want the book to be somebody can read that, understand what's going on for them, because it's also, it's not like a book. It's here's a little bit of an explanation. There's some stories about what went on for me. Then there's some affirmation, there's gratitudes, and there's some journaling prompts for you to work on yourself, because this is about you working on you, right? It's not me solving your problem. It's about you working on you. So once you've got that, you can come and go with that book as much as you like, but you can also go to another person. Here, try this. A lot of people have messaged me saying that, they'd like to buy a copy for their daughter, for other people than themselves, which is beautiful. That's that ripple effect.
It's nice, isn't it? I was telling my hairdresser about it and she said, oh, let me know because I'd like to give it to some people for Christmas.
Yes, exactly. And the hairdressers is I have a very lovely hairdresser, And they're always very supportive of me. And they always ask me a lot of questions because, you know, hairdressers, when you go there, notoriously, what happens for them is they get everybody's woes.
Mm.
And my full intention is I'm going to take a copy of my book in there, sign it, and put it as the hairdressers. My hairdresser is called a salon called Fish in Ivybridge, if anybody goes there, but just a little shout out to them. And I put it on there, you know, with the magazines and what have you, so that people can pick it up and just read a little bit of it. Because that is a place where people go to dump all of their stuff, to be seen and heard.
Yeah, and for some people, you know, it might be one of their few releases where they actually get to
Absolutely.
tell everybody about their woes, and then, you know, I really think hairdressers should be trained as
Trained. Yes, I've always said that. And it's interesting because uh, my podiatrist, where I go for my feet, she did train because she said I was hearing so much. So she trained. And I think
yeah,
it's lovely. I think it's lovely. But it also, she's, as she said, for her to be able to cope with it. Because when you hear a lot of that, you have to understand how you need to manage that.
yeah, you've got to have healthy boundaries, haven't you?
Healthy boundaries and good coping mechanisms. You know, understanding yourself is even more important.
Yeah. So, one of the other questions I quite like to ask people is, do you have your own sort of personal quote or mantra that you'd like to share?
I do. In fact, I have a few. So, self-belief shifting, because self-belief shifts everything. I don't know if you can see that. It's on my poster. It's the thing that I put out there. It's underneath it's the subtitle on my book, because self-belief will shift everything in your life. It will. You can't help it. Once you grow that self-belief, you can't help it. And when I was in that very dark place, the thing that I decided I was going to tell myself every morning, I'm not sure that I thought of every morning at that moment in time, but tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up and I'm going to tell myself I'm amazing. And it's something that I've grown and grown and grown and grown. And I literally went from the place of, and this is how I do my affirmations in my membership, is that, you know, you can say them internally in your head to start off with. And once you've got used to that a little bit and you're comfortable with saying that, because, you know, when I was saying I'm amazing, I wasn't believing I was amazing. So I gave myself a reason, because look, I can do that with my finger without actually having to do any commands. That's amazing. That is amazing. So that was the thing that got me to go, oh, okay, I am amazing because I can do this and I can do several other things. Once I got comfortable with saying that in my head, I started saying it very quietly out loud. And then it got to being louder. And then I stood myself in front of a mirror to say it so I could see myself saying it. Because you can persuade yourself it's not you saying it when you're, you know, nobody knows, it's fine. But once you start looking at yourself, then that's big. And these days now, if I pass somewhere that's like a mirror, or even pictures that are picture frames that have got glass in that are reflecting, I will pop back and just look at myself and go, you are amazing. Because I think it's really, really important, because those are the things that you say to yourself. My brain knows I'm amazing because I've been saying it now for over 4 years. So,
Yeah,
you know, I've just programmed my brain to believe that I'm amazing. So that's a really important one. And it's also slow, sustainable steps. Slow, sustainable steps. You don't need to be running yet.
you don't.
What you're running from, you know, let's just do this gently.
That's great. My coach actually said that to me today. You are amazing. Tell yourself that.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a ruder version for when I really want to hype myself up.
Have you ever heard of Florence Given? She's really, she knows she's amazing. She's on Instagram, and she's got really bright pink hair, and she's amazing with all her amazing outfits, and she's like, just tell people that you're amazing and go for it.
Absolutely. You know, it's just like in the last few years, I've decided I'm going to wear what I want to wear. I'm not going to wear the stuff that I'm supposed to wear. I should wear. Those aren't words I live by anymore. I wear what I want to wear when I want to wear it. And if that doesn't suit you, I'm
Off.
not worried. I'm not that worried. And if I want to wear, I love hot fuchsia pink, that just slightly deeper. So it looks a lot deeper in here, but I love that color. And I have got so many tops in that color now that the color stays the same, but the texture change or the length change, the style changes. Because I absolutely love that. But it was something that my father was always, no, you're not a pink girl. It taught me that I wasn't a pink girl. And yet in my head, I was a pink girl.
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily a girly girl, but I was a pink. I love the pink and navy blue. And that's why my branding is pink and navy blue now, because now I know. Thank you very much. And it's also one of the first questions I ask my clients. What's your favorite color? Because so many of them don't know anymore. Just don't know enough about themselves. It's a
Yeah.
joyful journey getting to know yourself. So amazing.
Your own best friend.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I'm the one that's validating me now. I love it if somebody else gives me a compliment, but I'm busy doing it for myself. Well, look at you. Look at you just done that. Well done, you. Dead
Well,
chuffed with you.
yes, congratulate yourself.
Absolutely.
However small the win. Yeah.
Any win. Any win. Because sometimes it's quite hard to get a big enough win because we set the bar too high for ourselves. So any win. Thank you very much. I'm going, well, you did that well. And I'm quite happy to say it out loud as well.
Good. So, we've talked about community and working with other people. And if you could collaborate with anybody, dead or alive, doing a workshop or an event, who would that be?
Again, I'm afraid I'm not going to give you anybody massive like that, because I would love to collaborate with my kids. I would love to have my kids up on a stage. They wouldn't want to, but I would love to. And just do us, just do the way that we are. Just share how we feel about things. Oh yeah, I'd love that. But I do collaborate with a very good friend of mine. And I love working alongside a Nikki Marshall, the hidden pain detective. And I love working alongside her because we are so alike but so opposite. And where my skills may not have been learnt yet, she's got it. So she's teaching me along the line, and vice versa.
Excellent. So, have you got any final thoughts for the viewers?
Learn to do you. Learn to listen to you. Pause, stop, don't knee jerk. Just listen to you. Find out what you like. Find out what makes you happy. And then do it.
Just do it.
Just do
Exactly.
it. It doesn't have to be perfect either. Because if you fall over, that's taught you something for the next time you try it.
Yeah, as one of my mentors, Jim Francis, he says, version one's better than version none. Just get on with it.
Absolutely. Just do it. Just do it. Give it a go, see what happens. Now, if you fail but you like it, if you fall over but you like it, get up and let's do it again. What happened in that bit to do it again? If you do it and you don't like it, you don't need to do it again. Find another way. Because life's not about punishing yourself, is it? Life's about actually really enjoying being here. And the more I understand that, the less materialistic things do I need to make me feel happy. I'm just I can get so much out of walking out here and going and talking to my husband, in the garden, or I can take the dog for a walk and get so much from that used to require a whole weekend away. And, I just don't need those anymore. I do them, but I don't need them.
Yeah. And do you work with people online and in person?
I do indeed. In fact, most of my people are online.
Yeah.
I'm doing a little bit more in-person work, but because of where I live, darkest Devon, most of my clients are online. And I love it.
Oh, yeah. Makes you international.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I'm working along some CICs at the moment, because charities is where my heart lies. I'm working alongside them to do some in-person work. Started a new group yesterday, so there is in-person work going on, and I'm more than happy to do it. But at the moment, most of my clients are online.
Yeah. And what's your website?
www.jennyfield.co.uk. It's quite simple.
Very simple, no messing about.
Yeah, and if you want to find me on social media, Jenny Field. I have pages that are just being me, or Jen's just being me, according to. But if you want to look up Jenny Field, you'll be able to find me through that.
Okay, thanks very much, and I'll pop all the links below as well. So
Thanks,
it's
Lorraine. It's been lovely chatting to you.
you too, and I'll see you at a future networking group coming up soon.
Indeed, indeed.
Thanks a lot. Thanks. Bye bye.